Hello and welcome back to King's Quest VI. We're going to grab our magic map to start off with and head back to the Isle of the Crown. We have a few things that we want to do there. The first of which is heading back to the pawn shop. There is something that we could do here once we head over to the pawn shop, and I'm actually going to save it for later, as there is a third step that can be added, which I want to do.
Your candy dish is empty.
I am sorry, sir, but I have no more mints. Somebody has eaten them all.
Well, get some more then.
I fear that is impossible. Without the ferry, I can no longer get imports from the other islands, and we do not grow mint extract on the Isle of the Crown.
Oh, I hate not getting what I want.
Well, it would seem that if we want any more mints, we will have to find another way to get them. Let's come up here and chat with the pawn shop owner. I believe we have something that is of significant value now that maybe we could get our ring back for. We have this pearl from the clam.
I found this large pearl. Might it be valuable enough to ransom back my family ring?
I have never seen such a perfect pearl. Certainly you can have your ring back.
Oh, I'm glad you didn't sell it. I'm a bit attached to it, I'm afraid.
Of course you are. You would be cold-hearted if you felt any differently. I am happy to see a family heirloom back with its rightful owner.
Excellent. We now have our ring back, which we will need later. However, I also want to trade out this nightingale for one of the other items.
Would you mind if I traded this in?
Of course, Prince Alex. Please choose something in exchange for the items on the counter.
Alexander looks closely at the items on the counter to make his selection.
And what we will take for now is the flute.
I'll take the flute.
The flute? Very good, Prince Alex. May its music always be sweet. Feel free to trade it back at any time.
Thank you.
Sounded like he really questioned our decision and then just decided to get behind it. As a kind of second thought. We have a rare book now that perhaps we can trade for this magic book.
I will be right up. Now, what can I do for you?
Let's show him this rare book of riddles.
I found this rare book, and I thought of your offer.
Very interesting. Oh, it is a wonderful riddle book. Riddles are much more marketable than spells these days. I guess people believe more in mirth than in magic. Here is the spell book you wanted, and a fair trade it is, I must say. Enjoy it.
I certainly hope so. We shall see how rusty my spellcasting truly is.
Alexander did show a certain affinity for magic, at least when guided with a book. Let's take a look at some of these spells.
Alexander is carrying a book from the bookshop. The cover says, Ye Old Spell Book.
Let's actually take a look at some of these spells. Luckily, unlike in King's Quest III, we can actually read them. So, for this spell, which will give us magic paint, we need a cup of swamp ooze, water from the river Styx, and a black horse feather. And by stirring them together and speaking the incantation, we can apply a blank surface with an artist brush and create something out of magic paint.
This is the first page.
Let's turn to the next spell. So we need some salt water not from the sea, a vial of sacred water, and some falling water. Interesting, and this will make rain. So we'll mix the salt and sacred waters in a teapot, add the falling water, and then speak the incantation, and then we will heat to boiling to activate. Alright, so if we ever need to make rain, we'll keep that in mind. charming a creature of the night. Very interesting. We would need a skull full of hot oak embers, a bit of sulfur, aka brimstone, and a strand of a pure-hearted maiden's hair. To do this, we'll add hair and brimstone to the skull of embers, and then in the presence of said creature, we will speak this incantation.
This is the last page.
Alright, there we go. So we have these 3 spells that we have to assume we will need to complete this quest. In the meantime, let's have a chat with this gentleman.
Good day, sir. Is there anything you can tell me about the land of the Green Isles?
I'm sorry, but I have no time for idle conversation. I'm too worried about the princess.
Perhaps if he were to be told that we are actually a friend of said princess.
Determined to learn more about the strange man's relationship with the princess, Alexander shows the man his insignia ring and formally introduces himself.
I'm sorry to insist, but my name is Alexander of Daventry, and
I appreciate the offer of the ring, Alexander, but I'm afraid I'm already spoken. Daventry? Where have I heard of Daventry? Flying flit mice. You must be Prince Alexander. Cosima told me about you when she arrived home. How came you here?
why, by a ship now wrecked upon the sand. But you know Cosima? She truly spoke of me?
Yes, I saw her briefly when she first returned home. She mentioned a prince to me, the Prince Alexander of Daventry. I'm afraid that was before she was told about her parents' deaths. You see, she arrived home a few weeks too late. The king and queen thought they'd never see her again. It is said they died of heartbreak. I'm afraid she's blamed herself.
What a terrible homecoming. If we had only known.
Terrible indeed, poor thing. Everyone in the kingdom seems to despair with her these days. The streets are silent.
Where is she now?
The princess is sequestered in mourning. It's a rather dated tradition, and not required, but the Wazir says she insisted out of respect.
I see. You've yet to say who you are and how you know the princess.
I? Oh, pardon me. My name is Jalo. I am clown to the royal court, and had been since the marriage of Cosima's parents, King Calipham and Queen Alaria. Oh, those were the happy days. The pair of them were so full of joy and life, so in love. And Cosima's birth. It would be hard to explain how long they had waited, how they had hoped for a child. I mean, she was such a charming little thing, smart as a whip, kind and sweet. Oh, she means everything to this kingdom, Alexander, and to me. I'm so terribly worried about her.
About her grief over her parents, you mean?
Well, the truth is, I do not trust the Wazir or his plans for Cosima. I'm still living at the Castle of the Crown as court clown, his clown. But it is more to keep my ear to the ground than out of loyalty. I wish I knew what the princess thinks these days. If only I could find Sing Sing, Cosima's pet nightingale. I might be able to send the princess a message. As it is, I must wait for the end of her seclusion.
What can you tell me about the Wazir?
The Wazir? Now there's a dangerous subject. His name is Abdul al-Hazred. He came to the kingdom 15 years ago. The king was fascinated by his knowledge and his fine-sounding ideas. It didn't take long for al-Hazred to convince the king to trust him with the minor problems of daily government. You see, Caliphim had a wife and a new daughter he wanted to spend time with. Al-Hazred became Wazir.
And now?
Well, he's had his eye on Cosima ever since she was a young girl. And she is the only thing between him and the throne.
Do you think he means to harm her?
Oh, I honestly don't know. I think he'd rather keep her as wife. But whatever his plans for the princess, he will use her to his best advantage. That's his way.
Perhaps he has charmed her. Perhaps she cares for him now.
The Wazir is capable of anything, and Cassima must be vulnerable and lonely right now. Still, she has always instinctively distrusted him. Cassima has a good head on her shoulders. I'd be surprised if she's truly fallen for his words of love. Now I must return to the castle. Look, I don't want to arouse suspicion. I'll try to meet you here again later.
Thank you for the information, Jallo. Be very careful.
Well, looks like the dangers to Cassima are even more realized than we first thought. And perhaps we now have a friend inside the castle. Let's see what this poster says.
Alexander doesn't remember that sign being on the wall before. He decides to take a closer look. It's a proclamation. It reads, "Citizens rejoice, announcing the royal wedding and coronation of Wazir Abdul al-Hazred and Princess Cassima. For reasons of security, the wedding will not be open to the public. Long live the new king and queen of the land of the Green Isles." Alexander feels his stomach turn at the thought of the dread event. If he doesn't do something soon, Cassima will be another man's wife.
Oh wow. Guess we better get to it. We'll have to solve the mysteries of these isles. We get to watch him walk further. Didn't he say something about Cassima's a nightingale? We'll have to keep that in mind. But that will be an issue for another day. For the time being, Alexander's going to very slowly walk to the beach. Does speed get slowed down now? Okay. Let's head back to the
Alexander.
Isle of Wonder.
Alexander feels...
Where there are a few things that we can do. All of which are back in this direction. Still nothing really to do here just yet. I think we grabbed 8. Good. So let's head up this way. And there's a few things going on. Notice that I don't believe this was here before, but there's something on this chair. However, we still have these snapdragons here, which get very upset when we approach, but perhaps music will soothe the savage beast.
May I have this dance?
Oh, my!
And these snapdragons seem to approve of our treatment of the wallflowers and no longer feel that they need to defend the flowers. So perhaps we can get past and investigate whatever this is and this item here on the chair. Once Alexander's done playing, that is.
Alexander stops playing the flute, but the wallflowers and snapdragons continue to dance, caught up in the music and oblivious to everything around them.
Excellent. Let's see if we can't grab this item here.
The dancing wallflowers are oblivious to Alexander.
Okay. Now the spot tries to hide over here,
While
but
the wallflowers dance, Alexander snatches the hole in the wall.
yes, it seems that while the wallflowers were preoccupied...
Alexander takes the teacup.
A teacup, eh? I feel like we just read about a teacup. Yeah, while the wallflowers were preoccupied, the spot didn't have anywhere to hide, so we were able to retrieve it. Now let's head down this way. A giant chessboard with some knights, apparently.
Excuse me, what land lies beyond?
What land? chessboard land, you knave.
I see. And is Chessboard Land part of the land of the Green Isles?
How creatively named.
It is the home of the red and white queens, rulers of the Isle of Wonder, fairest of the islands that owe loyalty to the king of the land of the Green Isles. But perhaps not for long.
What do you mean?
What is the purpose of unity with the great king and queen dead? The princess is worth serving, but the feud with the other isles is strong.
Oh, that was a good bit of information. And it seems the royalty is coming to meet us.
I must insist, Your Highness. I shall send a lump of coal to the Vizier and the Princess as a present for their wedding, and that's the end of it.
And I suppose you'll leave me with only this stupid spoiled egg to send, Your Highness. I want to impress the new king and queen of the realm as much as you do. As queen of this island, I have every right to that lump of coal.
Who isn't queen of this isle? The lump of coal is in my possession. Therefore, I shall do as I please with it. Besides, there's nothing wrong with that spoiled egg.
The egg, though delightfully spoiled, is not nearly so valuable as the lump of coal, and you know it. Your Highness always got to carry the singing stone. It's not fair that you get the coal, too.
That doesn't count. The singing stone was stolen by that horrid beast. I should get to keep the coal just because my stone was stolen.
It wasn't your stone. It belonged to the Isle of Wonder treasury. Your Highness always thinks that everything is hers.
Excuse me, my good man, but could you settle an argument for us?
Could try.
Which of us should get to carry the coal and which the egg? Remember, white is the color of deserving truth and virtue.
Quiet, Your Highness, and let him make up his own mind. I, for one, shall be more proper, and not even mention the fact that red is the color of love.
I'm sorry, Your Majesties. I'm partial to both red and white, but I'm afraid that I don't know how to solve your problem. One of you will just have to be gracious and allow the other the lump of coal.
What a ridiculously stupid idea.
Quite ludicrous.
He was a lot of help, wasn't he?
Oh, yes. Obviously a man of high intelligence. The lump of coal goes much better with my gown anyway. Black and red are imperial colors.
That's the silliest thing I ever heard. Red does not go with anything, being much too self-conscious. White is the perfect accompaniment to any color.
Not the most gracious of rulers. But I have an interesting little item here that I think we could borrow.
Alexander picks up the Red Queen's scarf.
Not certain what we'll use it for, but it's always good to collect things as we travel. Now, if we look again at this spell book
Alexander
quickly.
is carrying-
Oh, that's not what I want to do. There we go. So, for the paint spell, we need to get a cup of swamp ooze. And we just so happen to have a cup now. And then, for the Make Rain spell, we need to get several different types of water, including salt water not from the sea, and put it into a teapot. And we happen to have a teapot here as well.
Alexander is carrying an old, battered hunter's lamp. The lamp is empty.
Sort of. And one source I can think of for salt water not from the sea would be tears. We happen to have a bunch of...
Unless Alexander is mistaken, those plants must be baby's tears.
baby's tears. So why don't we try making one of them happy and see if that changes the mood of the others.
Alexander gives one of the baby's tears a bottle of milk. The other baby's tears seem to resent Alexander's gift for some reason.
Oops. But it's an opportunity to collect some salt water.
Alexander collects some of the baby's tears in the old hunter's lamp.
Very nice. All right, let's head down this way to the stick and bump on a log, and we were supposed to get some swamp ooze. So let's take our teacup and collect that.
What do you think you're doing? You startled me. I was just getting some swamp ooze. Well, you certainly won't get it there! That's not swamp ooze! That's swamp muck!
He's right, you know. But he could be a little nicer about telling you. He's not a very pleasant stick in the mud.
Nobody asked you! Be quiet!
Oh, the trials of being a mere bump on a log.
Well, perhaps he'll be gracious enough to give us some swamp ooze.
Perhaps you could toss me some swamp ooze, since you seem to be able to recognize it. I can only reach this bit by the path. Well, hoity-toity, look who's Mr. Wants So Much! You think I got a job here passing around precious swamp matter? You should be so lucky!
He's an utter waste of oxygen. I'd save my breath if I were you.
What does the bump on a log
Who
have
are
to
you?
say?
I'm Bump on a Log, and that's my brother, Stick in the Mud. We've had this thing about each other ever since our childhood. Mom always liked me best.
She did not! That is absolutely not true!
He's a bit lazy, you see. He's got the only swamp ooze in the swamp right next to him. But do you think he'd move a finger to help you get some? Hardly. He'd try to brain you with it more than likely. His temper's about the only thing that ever gets a workout, and that on yours truly.
Oh, like you've moved at all in the last century! Like you're Mr. Physical Activity!
Just because I can't reach anything, he thinks he can throw gushy swamp matter at me and just say whatever he likes. If only I could turn the tables on that heckler, he might learn some respect. But as you can see, I'm a mere bump on a log and must be content with my lot.
Oh, shut up! You couldn't hit the broadside of a barn even if you had something to throw! Just shut up!
You see how he is?
Well, you mentioned some hecklers and something that you could throw. We do have this rotten tomato, which plays quite nicely into that idea. Let's see if the bump in a log is interested.
I thought this might come in handy the next time your brother starts picking on you.
Aha! Finally, old Bump on the Log's not so defenseless, is he?
Hey! Hey! What you doing there? Watch the pulp, would you?
Now, Bumpy, remember all I've given you! The only thing you've ever given me is mud. Take this!
No! Not into the swamp!
Sorry, tomato. Let's see how Bump's aim is. Ooh, dead on. Uh-oh.
Okay, I give up. Geez, sorry.
Well, I guess it's not very pleasant having things thrown at you. I'm sorry.
You mean it? Really? Brother?
Brother!
Stick in the Mud and Bump on a Log, exhausted from the battle, immediately doze off into naps. Rotten Tomato, being equally lazy, decides to join them.
Well, I'm going to count that as us causing a wonderful family reunion and just, call it a win. let's collect some of this swamp ooze.
Alexander fills the teacup with the swamp ooze.
Excellent. Now let's head down this way. And we've done just about all we can here on the Isle of Wonder. There's nothing we can do on the Isle of the Beast just yet. And we're somewhat stymied at the Isle of the Crown, so perhaps it will finally be time to head up the way of the, was it Isle of the Mountain? Or Isle of the Sacred Mountain. Very good. But I think since it's kind of the start of a new chapter, we will actually end things here. It's a little bit early. And when we come back, we'll climb up the Sacred Mountain. But until then, see ya.